The town of Hinton respectfully acknowledges that it is located on the First Peoples traditional lands. We recognize this traditional territory to show respect and understanding to those who walk this land since time immemorial. Today we uphold our ongoing responsibility to work together in the spirit of the intent of the treaties with all the First Peoples and nations that call this place home. The town expresses gratitude for the opportunity to build a better community on these sacred lands for generations to come. With that, we will call this March 4th regular council meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Council, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, CEO Panasic, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
No changes.
Thank you, CEO Panasic. Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to move that we accept the agenda for the regular council meeting for March 4th, 2025 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Council, the motion on the floor is that council accept the agenda or adopt the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. That will take us to council minutes for adoption. Council. Councillor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that we adopt the regular council meeting minutes for February 18th, 2025, and the committee of the whole meeting of February 25th, 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is that council adopt the minutes from the regular council meeting of February 18th, 2025, and the committee of the whole meeting February 25, 2025. Is there any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. I'll take us to section 4 of the agenda, citizens minute with council. Secretary, are there any citizens signed up for a minute with council this evening?
No, there's no one tonight.
Thank you, Secretary. That will take us to section 5 of the agenda, action items, and item 5.1, aquatic climbing wall project. CEO Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be presenting this one today. We had discussed this one at the committee of the whole, but our pool climbing wall is over 20 years old now. And as per our most recent takedown and upon reinstallation this January, one of the panels was found to be cracked, and the panel is too old to find replacement parts. So we're coming forward to council to consider a motion that would include a new climbing wall for the pool into the 2025 budget that would come prior to setting the tax rate as a capital project. We have looked at two possible options for a new climbing wall. We have the polycarbonate climbing wall. The cost of that is $62,000. We also have my mistake, I thought there was another option available. Council, I believe there's a mistake on this one, but there should be one other option, which was the more textured option 2, which was approximately $80,000. It was we had recommended option 1, the polycarbonate climbing wall. It was a little bit easier to clean. It's transparent, so you have better sight lines, but it doesn't have necessarily the features and the texture of the feeling of a real wall. Hence the cheaper price tag. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, CEO Panasic. And just a reminder to council, this was discussed in the last committee, and the motion that brought this to council specified option 1 out of that committee meeting. But I'm sure if anyone wanted to bring back the other options, we could. Councillor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the council amend the 2025 capital budget in the amount of $62,066 to include the replacement of the pool climbing wall with polycarbonate option 1. If I can quickly speak to it, I realize there was another option, but in comparison, the only real difference seemed to be the texture of it, which this option was the cheaper of the two, yes, but it's the same size, same principle, just a different texture, which I think contributes to more safety being able to see through it, one thing. The other thing that I'm very happy to see, first off, is I believe Ms. Wade mentioned how the old one with being straight up and down made it very easy for users to climb to the very top and sit on the very top, which is a precarious position because if they happen to, lean towards the opposite side, could hit cement. So I think this one negates that possibility. And the fact that it also leans over the pool rather than straight up also is a considering factor for me too, for safety. And the fact that you can move the footholds and handholds, we can mix it up a bit. So I think it's a great addition to our rec center. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is the council amend the 2025 capital budget in the amount of $62,066 to include the replacement of the pool climbing wall with polycarbonate option 1. Councillor Taylor.
I don't support this option for the reasons given last week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Council, anything further? Okay, the motion on the floor is the council amend the 2025 capital budget in the amount of $62,066 to include the replacement of the pool climbing wall with polycarbonate option 1. We will call the question. All those in favor? And all those opposed? And that motion is passed 4-1 with Councillor Taylor opposed. Council, is there anything further for item 5.1 on the agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, we'll move to item 5.2, 2025 budget, Foothills Recreation Management Association, CEO Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. I will refer this one to Ms. Bourbeau.
Thank you and good evening, Council. On February 25th at the Committee of the Whole meeting, representatives from the Foothills Recreation Management Association presented to committee. And at that meeting, committee requested administration bring this item forward to a regular meeting of council. The Foothills Recreation Management Association is requesting $25,000 from council to support the initiatives of the association. Some of these include management of 23 campgrounds, which enables them to have a lower discounted rate per night fee. And in doing so, this is helpful in reducing random backcountry counting, which also can mitigate the risk of forest fires in some instances. And they run and manage 8 trail systems as part of the association. With that, I will take any questions. Should council move forward this, it would be funded through taxation, but this is being done ahead of setting the 2025 tax rates.
Thank you, Ms. Bourbeau. Councillor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. I believe the original ask or the ask last year and the assumption this year, because we didn't hear that presentation during the budget deliberations, but it was a request of $20,000, was it not?
That is correct. They have increased their ask to $25,000.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to move the council directs administration to include a $20,000 allocation to Foothills Recreation Management Association as an amendment to the 2025 operating budget prior to setting the 2025 tax rates. If I can speak to it. We had a lot of deliberations over civic agencies, and the trend is tougher times in regards to taxation and expenses, and some organizations might have seen a decrease. So I don't feel comfortable at this time increasing it to the 25,000, but I believe the 20,000. I think that they also have other options. I thought the DMO that they weren't aware of might also increase some of the funding, maybe not in the short term, but in the long term as well. But I think that's a reasonable allocation. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Councillor Taylor. Before I go there, I'm going to mention that the motion on the floor is the council directs administration to include a $20,000 allocation to the Foothills Recreation Management Association as an amendment to the 2025 operating budget prior to setting the 2025 tax rates. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I agree. I think 20,000 represents a commitment to a partnership, with Firma, Frida, and West Fraser. They were helping us out with a lot of money for the Beaver Boardwalk. And I think that 20,000 versus 25,000 reflects the fact that a number of other organizations asked for more money and we were unable to give it. We're giving out like 1.5 million worth of, I don't know what you want to call this money, community money. So we got to try to hold the line a little bit. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Council, the motion on the floor is that council directs administration to include a $20,000 allocation to the Foothills Recreation Management Association as an amendment to the 2025 operating budget prior to setting the 2025 tax rates. Is there any further discussion from council? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. Council, is there anything further for item 5.2 on the agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, we'll move to item 5.3, Council Code of Conduct Bylaw number 1124, TAC 1. CEO Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. This one will also go to Ms. Bourbeau.
Ms. Bourbeau.
I am very sorry. I thought this was someone else's to take on. My apologies. CEO Panasic, would you be able to carry this one forward, please?
Absolutely. So, Mayor, members of the council, we are bringing the Council Code of Conduct back for third reading. This is coming forward as one of our strategic and tactical plan items that council had directed to look at a form of self-evaluation as a part of the Council Code of Conduct bylaw that has been built in. That is the major change. The other changes have been relatively minor. It's just more updates and best practices, but nothing that materially changes the bylaw with the exception of the self-evaluation process. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, CEO Panasic. Council? Councillor Haas.
I'm comfortable making a motion that council give third reading to Council Code of Conduct Bylaw number 1124-1. If I can speak to it, I think this, thank you for administration. I think this is a very important document to council and to administration and the community, and I think that we've captured, what is the recommendations and did some rewording, so I'm comfortable with moving forward with third reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is that council give third reading to Council Code of Conduct Bylaw number 1124, TAC 1. Is there any further discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Councillor Haas.
Yeah, I just want to follow up because the other that we've been working on is the procedure bylaw, and I'm just curious on the ETA, because I know that one of the matters was our minute with council and looking at different versions of that, but before that we were looking at scheduling committee of the whole with the contractor. Is that something coming forward in the near future, or?
Panasic?
Through the mayor, members of council, we have our parliamentarian booked in for the end of March.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CEO Panasic. Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, is there anything further for item 5.3 on the agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, we'll move to section 6, correspondence. Councillor Haas.
I just have a quick question about our first letter from Minister McIver on the Provincial Priorities Act. I was trying to wrap my head around this a little bit, and the example that I was going to ask is the tiny homes. Being as how that was a federal grant, is that something that if this act were in place at the time, that we were to consult the Alberta provincial government on that? Or, because my understanding is we're supposed to, we have to submit information and things like that to our provincial government because of this act, but is that an example of that?
CEO Panasic.
Through the mayor to members of council, yes. Really, any funding that's coming from a federal agency, you do have to get approval above that $100,000 threshold from the provincial government.
Okay. So if I may follow up on that, what kind of timelines does that, because I mean, if we went for the grant and we only, we get the grant, do we have to get permission before we go for a grant, as an example, that was a federal grant? Or we find out first if we have the grant over 100,000 and then we have to get permission to whether or not we accept it or not?
CO Panasic.
Through the mayor, in the administrative circles, those questions are all being posed.
Okay.
On exactly how and when. The conversation that I had with the ADM of Municipal Affairs is they are trying to create a very easy process for this, where it's not going to take months to get an answer back, and that we should be, it should be a matter of weeks. But my understanding is that we can apply, but prior to signing of a grant agreement, it's likely that at that point in time we'd have to submit that agreement for approval from the provincial government prior to final sign-off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Thank you, CO Panasic. Councillor Taylor.
This MacGyver letter also, paragraph 5, the grants in place taxes program, that's excellent news. So this year it's 75% and the next year it's 100%. So we were going to talk, that's fantastic, right? That's in keeping with what the Premier said at one of the meetings I was at where she was there, I can't remember which one. But my only question would be, how does this affect the work we're doing? Because we made a motion that we were going to tally this up and then advocate to the province. So it sounds like we don't have to. The only part of that sounds relevant is maybe the tallying it up to make sure the province gives us the right amount of money.
CO Panasic.
How much do you think this will be? How does that affect the work we're doing, I guess, is the question.
Through the mayor for the dollar amounts on GPOT, I would have to refer that to our Director of Corporate Services if she has that number off the top of her head. When it comes to the outstanding motion to develop a briefing note on this one, my recommendation is that that's no longer relevant. We have a plan going forward to reinstate it to 100%, and we don't have to spend our time on that.
No, but part of what we were going to do, if I may, part of what we were going to do, the half of what we were going to do was calculate what was it going to cost, and how much we were going to get out of the deal. So do we still have to do that, or are we going to trust the provincial government to get the numbers right?
Through the Mayor and Mayor's Council, no. This would be we would work with the GPOT program to make sure that all of the different properties that they're stating or that they're going to send us a grant for, we'll be checking all those individual properties to see what the assessment would be and what we should be getting to make sure we're getting the correct amount. So whatever that translates into dollars or additional dollars, we'll make sure that we report back to council on that file.
And how much is this going to be?
Thank you, and through to all of council. The tally has been done. We did all of the work, and I can give the total to CAO, and he can possibly email council tomorrow.
Thank you, Ms. Borwell.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Anything further?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm finished.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Council, is there anything further for correspondence? If not, could we get a motion to accept the correspondence package? Thank you, Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to move that we accept the correspondence as information is presented.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Council, the motion on the floor is that council accepts the correspondence for information. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. That will take us to section 7 this evening, notices of motion. CO Panasic, are there any notices of motion this week?
There are no notices of motion.
Thank you, CO Panasic. That will take us to section 8, reporting and 811 council reports. Councillor Ostashik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Ostashik. Councillor Haas.
Just a quick thing to report. I attended last night and this afternoon's fire preparedness that was scheduled by FCSS in the town, but also it was the Alberta Emergency Management Agency that presented at it. It was very well attended. There was probably at least 30 or so people last night, and then what was also very I guess, impressive to see this afternoon from 12 to 1 was a full class from Harry College joined and got information on fire smarting and preparedness. So I thought that was really good to see with community members. So, I mean, basically what it was to let the community know how important it is to be prepared, gave some examples, you know, what to be in your kit, and others, and they also brought their experience from other communities that they've worked with over the years. So that was quite interesting. A lot of questions about fire smarting. They were pleased to hear the grants that we have achieved and are looking in the future for future grants, so they were happy to hear that, the community. Fire department mentioned how they also have applied for a $200,000 grant through Montesina and Interact, or Intact insurance companies that could provide sprinkler systems to homes if they do achieve that. And the biggest thing that came from that is apparently check your insurance rates. Apparently there's quite a few stories coming to the fire department that if residents do not have a fire inspection of their outside, their rates are, well, one individual quoted their rates went up $800. I talked to another one today that they went up $1,200. But with discussion, apparently you get that fire smart assessment by the fire department. They'll either waive that extra cost or reduce it at least, but they're starting to see a trend that way as well. So when the systems are all back up and there's a little bit of training that the fire department can do, all you have to do is contact the fire department and schedule an assessment of your home. And basically they come and they inspect. The biggest area is the 1 meter or meter and a half away from your house. Basically they'll come around and make any recommendations. They won't do them for you, but they'll recommend them to make any changes. So that was something that I think they've got 80 or 90 residents signed up for it already. There'll be more open houses, but anyone can call and get on the list to when everything's up and ready to get inspected. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Councillor Chambers.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Councillor Taylor.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. And for myself, reporting last week, Council had a very productive strategic planning session, and I'm looking forward to a communications package being put out in the near future for the public on what was achieved at our strategic planning session. And this week I am headed to the Municipal Leaders Caucus in Edmonton. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm sure there's a lot of updates from the province coming down the pipe later this week. CEO Panasic, Chief Administrative Officer. Oh, Councillor Haas has a question.
Sorry, not a question, but I should also mention, because you and I and the CEO attended a town hall meeting for the budget. And I think it's just important to make the public aware. As we know, we don't administer, but we collect the education tax. And they made it quite clear education tax, I believe, is going up about 5.4%. Because there's been an increase of their budget, plus the infrastructure for the 90 up to 90 schools. So it's just something that, you know, as a municipality, it's our jobs to collect that money, but it's not our tax. It's a provincial tax. So I just wanted to make that known to the community. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Excellent. I also managed to attend the Alberta Munis budget webinar after the fact, and if there's any councillors that need to be emailed the recording of that, please just let me know. They did send that to the attendees. That will take us to section 8.2, Chief Administrative Officer reporting. CEO Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report.
Thank you, CEO Panasic. That takes us to section 9 of the agenda this evening, adjournment, right on time, according to the Secretary. Councillor Taylor.
Yes, thank you for a chance to comment on the Chief Executive Officer report. Since the Mayor is going to the Municipal Leaders meeting tomorrow, how are we making out on the AFPA resolution that he was going to bring?
CEO Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the AFPA resolution We were not able to get it in for this session. We tried to submit it, but the concept, but there was a number of concerns that would have to be dealt with prior to the resolutions committee accepting it. So our plan is to bring that forward in a report for the fall session. And now that we have a little bit more clarity as of today on the tariff situation, then hopefully we'll be able to put forward a more comprehensive resolution for the fall session.
Thank you.
Thank you, C.A. Vanessa. Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
My pleasure.
Council, is there anything further for section 8? That will take us to section 9, the call for adjournment. Councillor Taylor.
I move that council adjourn the meeting at 4:29.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Council, the motion on the floor is council adjourn the meeting at 4:29 p.m. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. We are adjourned. Well done, everybody.